Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sophia, for you guys who don't know, also called Mama Soph. Today we are going to get into the nitty-gritty of postpartum. I've been meaning to do this video for a while, but I've kind of held off just because I didn't know where to start. I didn't know if I was really comfortable opening up about everything that went down, but I'm here. So I think last week I asked you guys on my Instagram what you wanted to know about postpartum. Told you guys I would be really candid, really open, and really honest. So here I am to answer your questions. So let's get started. Fast forward now 5 months. My son is 5 months old on Tuesday, tomorrow. A lot happens postpartum that I feel like I wasn't really aware of until going through it myself personally. I watched a lot of videos, I talked to a lot of people, I looked at pictures and posts on Instagram, and it's very different. It's very different than what people say, what I saw compared to what I experienced, and I want to share with you guys my experience through the questions you guys asked and what you guys want to know. So let's dive in. First question you guys asked was, what was the hardest part? There was a lot of hard parts. First, I want to start out with being sleep deprived. I think that was probably my number one hardest thing, because it not only affects you physically, but affects you mentally. You feel like you're like all out of whack. So when I gave birth, I went into the hospital around 4 p.m. on my due date, 4 p.m. And I gave birth just past midnight at like 12:30. I did not sleep at all. I was probably up for a good 2 days for sure, probably a little bit more than that. And then after coming home, I didn't sleep through the night. I actually still don't sleep through the night. We're sleep training him this week. It's going well. But yeah, so I haven't slept through the night for 5 months. And that's probably the hardest thing, because if I don't get enough sleep, you just are so drowsy, you don't want to do anything, you get cranky, it's just like a downward spiral. So I think that's probably the number one hardest thing about postpartum, was the sleep, because all the other stuff ended after a month, like the pain and all that stuff, but this has continued to 5 months and I haven't gotten enough sleep, and so it's been really hard on my body, and I know it's been hard on my relationship with Trent too, because I'm really grumpy and I just want to sleep, but I'm exhausted, I have so much to do. So yeah, get ready for that. If I could save up sleep, I would. A lot of my friends are like, rest before the baby comes, and totally do. Totally rest. But there's no way you can like save up rest. Like you save up your coins, you save your money, like have a little jar and you throw it in. You can't throw sleep in there and then just pull back out and be like, oh, I want sleep now. It doesn't work like that. So rest. I know it's hard, you'll get through it. Rest though, and ask for help. I think that's a number one thing to kind of cope with this, is ask for help, because you can't do it all. Unfortunately, you can't do it all. Another question you guys asked was very personal, really interesting. It's definitely a thing. You guys asked how my first poop was. Most women compare it to labor pains. I would also like to compare it to labor pains. It's something that you don't really think about, and I only knew that it was going to be painful because of some research I did. But I know some women that are like so blown away and shocked that this is what happens. So yeah, it was really painful. Some things to consider before having your first poop is stool softener really helps. A friend of mine recommended some natural stool softener, and I can link that down below. That's what I used. And then also stay hydrated and just drink a lot of water, so a lot of fluids are going through you. But yeah, it's a piercing pain. very similar to labor. It's not the same as labor exactly, but it's really painful. I remember being in the bathroom, closing my eyes, praying that it would be over and trying not to scream. And I did it. But it was really painful in the process of it happening. Another question you guys asked was, what is something you wish someone told you about postpartum? Let me think about that. Kind of going along with the same topic of the other questions. My answer would probably have to be how painful it is. It's no joke. Like, you have a full human coming out of you. Of course you're gonna have to recover. So the backstory, I gave birth vaginally, and I also took an epidural. So he wasn't huge, but he wasn't small by any means, kind of like an average size. So that kind of gives you a gist of what I had to deal with down here. And because I had that epidural, I didn't realize how much pain I was in until first they started stitching me up, and then second, when I got up to go to the bathroom for the first time, which was in the morning. So I gave birth just past midnight, and then that morning I called the nurse and had her come help me go to the bathroom. And I think getting up for the first time, I realized, oh my gosh, my body just went through so much. And regardless of how your baby comes out, if you have it vaginally, if you have a C-section, if you have epidural, if you don't have epidural, we still all have to recover. All the lady parts have to recover. It's no joke. And then from there, you have to go to the bathroom, and that's a whole nother process of going down, not wiping, using the peri bottle, having pads, having witch hazel spray, thankfully I had the Freedom Mom Kit, which I'll link that down below, which really helped in my postpartum process, but it was still really painful. I remember, I think it was 4 days after I delivered, I was just in the bathroom and piercing, like I was screaming, and Trent or my mom came and got me. But it's a pain that you don't really know how to describe until you're in it. I was very naive to think that, oh, my body is just gonna recover really quickly. I'm really healthy, I'm young, I'm active, I'm blah, blah, blah. And it did for sure, but I didn't think it was going to be as painful as I really did experience. And I was on pain meds, and your body is really going through a lot. So be patient with yourself. Again, like I said earlier, ask for help. I remember like sitting down, like it was really hard for me to like sit down normally. It was hard for me to walk. It was hard for me to put my pants on. It was hard for me to sleep. So in those moments, like, ask for help, because again, you can't do it by yourself. Me, I'm a very determined, stubborn woman, and I like to think I can do a lot of things by myself. And I realized in those moments that I had to ask for help. And it's okay. It's good to ask for help, and your partner needs to be there. It's good for them to be there to bond during this moment, because it's very emotional, physically and mentally. But you can do it. But yeah, I think I wish someone told me truly how painful it is. And I know it's obviously different for every woman too, depending on pain tolerance, depending on what kind of labor you went through, how long your labor was, X, Y, and Z. But yeah, I wish someone was very candid and explained to me that it's going to be painful, it's going to be bloody, there are going to be stitches, you are not going to be able to walk by yourself for a while, you're going to need help going to the bathroom. And it's not just that first day, but it's like a week. This is all gonna happen. It gets better after a week, but that week is hard, because not only are you dealing with yourself, you're also dealing with a newborn that needs a lot of attention, a lot of help. So you're now having to do both. So prepare yourself. You can do it. Ask for help. You got this. I promise. You got this. Another thing I would also kind of tackle into this, I wish someone told me, was to really be strong about what you want. We had visitors after when we came home. It was just family, but it was a lot for me, and I wish I was strong enough to be like, I only want visitors for 30 minutes or an hour or whatever. A lot of people did kind of warn me about this, but I was like, no, it's okay, it'll be fine. But no, I really wish I listened to them in this postpartum process of stick with your word, and not only have you know what you want, but also communicate that with your partner too, so you guys are both on the same page about things. But it's good to have visitors, but if you do have visitors, one suggestion would be to put them to work, put them in charge of dishes, put them in charge of laundry, put them in charge of sweeping and mopping the floor. Do something for you. Bring food. That's a huge one. Food is a huge one. But yeah, stick with your word and stick with what you want, because, and I want to have this discussion beforehand maybe and after, but really be on the same page before you go into labor with your partner, being like, this is what I want and this is how I want it to happen. And it may change. You may want all these visitors and then after be like, no, I don't. But don't feel bad if you say no to visitors. It's your baby. It's your recovery process. Whatever you say goes, and stick with it. So that's one thing I think I wish I would have been smarter about. Another question that you guys asked was, have you been depressed postpartum or had postpartum anxiety? And the answer is yes. I don't think I really realized I was in the thick of depression and anxiety until Zaire's 2-month appointment. When you go to these 2-month appointments, typically they have you like fill out this questionnaire of how you're feeling, and you answer them, and then kind of at the end of the appointment, they kind of, it's like a scale rating. So they're like, oh, well, you answered yes this many times, so you probably have postpartum depression. When Zaire's pediatrician told me that I was depressed, I don't think I really realized it until I started talking to her and kind of explaining my situation and explaining all of what I was feeling and what I was doing or not doing. And then I came back to the car and I told Trent, and I think it was a really hard thing for me. Again, like I mentioned, I'm very stubborn, and so I didn't want to think I was depressed or have anxiety because I've never had or dealt with those issues before. But it was definitely real, and Trent really worked with me, making sure that I was going outside and that I was taking walks. I wasn't just stuck in the room all day. And it's really hard. Like, postpartum depression and anxiety is a real thing. It's real. And it's really common as well. I think it's even more common now because we're in a global pandemic. COVID is still happening. We're wearing masks everywhere. We have to social distance. We have to stay at home. We have all these like precautions and parameters now. And most of the time you could go out and go on walks with your friend and do this and do that. And it's hard postpartum now because we can't go out. We can't do those things. And isolation from like the outside world, I think, festers and creates more of this depression and anxiety. At least for me, I can speak personally. It was hard for me because I felt alone and I felt like I didn't have a lot of help. I was in my thoughts a lot. I wanted everything to be perfect. I had all these expectations about how it was going to be, and it's not always that way. I was trying to cope with how it was, and I think I kind of just dug myself into this little hole, and it was kind of hard for me to get out. Thankfully, I am on the upward track. I am definitely talking about it more with friends and other moms, which is great because they can share their experience, I can share my experience. I'm also very open and candid with Trent about how I'm feeling, because one day I can be really great, the other day I can be really terrible. So it's a process that I'm still kind of learning, but I would say I'm definitely better than I was back in December. The sun is shining. Thankfully I live in LA, so I can go to the beach and get some fresh air. We can go on walks. So I just need to make sure I get that scheduled and do it, because I know it's good for me and my health. So if any of you guys are going through postpartum depression or anxiety or want to talk about it, please message me, please comment, connect with me somehow. I want to build a community here, and it's really important for me to learn your story as well, so I can help all of you guys and be there for you as well, because it's so important, especially in those early days of postpartum. Another question you guys asked was, again, personal, but I'll answer it. It was, did you tear during labor? And I did. It was just a 1st degree tear. It wasn't extremely bad, but like I said before, the stitches after, they must have turned down my epidural or something, because it really hurt. I felt every little stitch going up there. All healed now. Everything's good. Everything's sewed back up properly. But yeah, again, like I said earlier, it did really hurt. It was hurt to sit, hurt to walk, hurt to pee, hurt to do anything. Definitely not as bad as some women. I know some women that tore to the 3rd degree. Don't be afraid of what's going to happen. Whatever happens, happens, and there's so many great doctors and doulas and midwives to help you through this process. People have babies every day. I know it's easy for me to say now on the flip side, but it's really true, and you can get through it. Don't be scared. Whatever happens, it happens. You have a beautiful blessing at the end, and you don't even think about it. So stick in there. You got this. Last question, before I kind of wrap this up. How painful was breastfeeding? I think it was, I would describe it as a roller coaster of emotions, physically and mentally. It's not as easy as it looks. I took a breastfeeding class before I had a baby, and it's very different. I still suggest a breastfeeding class. I think it's good for the knowledge you gain, so you kind of go into it having some kind of knowledge. But listening to it and taking the class versus actually like doing it is so much harder than it looks. I was like, oh, it's gonna be such a beautiful experience. All these moms on Instagram are posting pictures of themselves breastfeeding with their babies and how beautiful this bond is and blah, 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 blah. Reality is your nipples bleed, you have blisters, your blisters get reopened, you have to put nipple cream, your boobs are leaking all the time, you wake up with your sheets all soaked, you wake up with your shirt all soaked, you're soaking through breast pads, you need more breast pads, you need to put nipple cream on, oh no, now they're engorged, I got to put some ice packs on them, I need to release it, I have a clogged milk duct. It's not as easy as it looks. Get help. I really struggled in the beginning. So with COVID, you're only really in the hospital for like a full day, maybe 2. And we got a lactation specialist at the tail end, like 45 minutes before I left and was out the door. And she was great at explaining, kind of. But when I got home, I felt like I was lost and I was in a lot of pain, screaming. And I just remember in the middle of the night doing the nighttime feeds, and he was next to me, and it's pitch black, and I'm biting the pillow, trying not to scream and wake everyone up. because it was so painful. Like I told Trent, I'm like, this is more painful than labor. And in the moment, it really is. That first latch, oof, hurts. So it's a process. And again, like I said, it was a roller coaster. So I went back and scheduled an appointment with a lactation specialist and went and saw her, I think the week after he was born, because I was still really struggling. And that was really helpful. So ask for help, book an appointment, ask your friends, ask a lactation specialist. They're there to help you. I would say it's painful for the first 2 to 4 weeks. The only reason I said 4 weeks is because it was 4 weeks for me, because my baby not only struggled latching, but he also had thrush, which is like a yeast infection. So it affects me and the baby, and it adds even more pain on top of like the already painful breastfeeding. So it's definitely not all pretty and perfect like Instagram likes to show. So beware that it's going to take you some learning. Not only you, but your baby also needs to learn. They are just fresh out of the womb. They don't know how to do a lot. They do know how to suck because they were practicing in the womb. But you need to make sure you get the latch correct so they're getting enough milk and the position of which you hold them. So be patient with yourself. It took a while for me to be confident in breastfeeding. I would probably say it took me 4 months. Like just this last month, I was like, okay, I feel more confident in breastfeeding. Still, we have rough days, but I know like I can do it. It's not painful. I have confidence in myself. I think that was a big thing. And if you want to breastfeed, stick with it. Again, like I said, I'm very stubborn. And I almost stopped breastfeeding because it was really hard. I was like, I give up. I can't do this. I'm just going to give him a bottle. I'm just going to give him formula. And that's fine. If that's what you want to do, I'm not going to put any mom down. You feed your baby how you want to feed your baby. That is great. But if you are determined to breastfeed, stick with it. Stick with it. You can do it. Anyways, if you guys want to know more about postpartum, I'm here for you. Please comment. Please let me know what you guys want to watch and want to know. I'm more than happy to share my experience with you guys. And again, I'm here to build a community of moms, confident moms, moms that have each other's backs, moms that cheer each other on. So we can do this. We can do this. I just have to tell myself that every day. I can do it. I can do it. I can raise this baby. We got this. So anyways, I love you guys. Take care. Enjoy your day. And I look forward to seeing you next week.